One period event remains in the Japanese events, and that is the 90s challenge. So we've beaten the 70s and we've beaten the 80s. Now we must go on to best the 90s. And since I've already used an early 90s car by buying myself that Suzuki Cappuccino, we're gonna go late 90s with this. And as I would have expected, the updates have come in full force. But before we do that, okay, not really in an interesting colour. You know what? I'll leave that for later. Oh, we could actually buy the Toyota Celica I wanted to buy before. Oh well, doesn't matter. Let's just focus on this. So these are our late 90s cars. From 1996, basically up to 2002, more or less. I think if I was really wanting to be petty, I would probably use my Subaru Impreza that I used before. Let's use... You know what? Because I've been beaten out by two Nissans before, I'm actually going to use a Nissan Skyline for this next one. It seems almost inevitable that we're practically going to be meeting again. So you know what? I'm going to buy the Skyline for this one. Even though it's probably going to make this whole thing a shitload of a lot easier. But you know what? I don't care. I always knew that sooner or later, fate was going to intervene. And at some point, I was going to meet the Skyline. And that's why I've chosen this thing. I've decided to just go with it. For the purpose of making sure that I do not go through too much drama for my next event. I've decided this is the car we're using. I think we should be okay now, because we're using a Skyline. So here we are then, the Japanese 90s challenge. And where this time we're using models made anywhere between 1990 and 1999. So right up to the turn of the millennium. And as I would have expected, this is going to be pretty easy. As we've got Apricot Hill, Grand Valley, Twin Ring Motegi, Special Stage Route 5, and last but not least, Fuji Speedway 90s, understandably. And we are beginning with 3 Hondas, 2 Toyotas, and 2 Nissans. However, I chose the Skyline because, well, I'm convinced in saying there is going to be tuning involved in this. Even though I've probably made this look piss easy as a result. However, I do have a backup plan. Because I'm going to put some weight in the car. Just to make this more interesting. I think I was initially on, 260 horsepower and then, 280 horsepower, and then after that, I probably increased that by 40 as a result of the oil change. But anyway, let's go. and see how easy this will be. And 38 points if we win, so... yeah. In all honesty, I'm not too surprised. I could have gone for another choice if I really wanted to, but I just decided that after basically getting my balls crushed here at Apricot Hill last time, I just decided it was easier for me to just not let fate intervene itself any further. And that was why I chose to go with the Skyline. And as a result, I've probably made this a little bit too easy as a result. But either way, I did at least make sure that I went through my fair share of suffering before coming down to this. And yes, I know there is of course the two-wheel drive Skyline that I could have used, but I picked this one, well, because I wanted to. Also because I am convinced in saying that the other three races will be more challenging to beat, a lot like they were in the previous period event we did, or decade related event we did. But anyway, so 9.4 seconds is the gap. I think it's obvious to say that I may have made this just a little bit too easy. But I will go maximum weight for the next race. It was kind of always going to wind up like this at some point, saying that sooner or later I was inevitably going to encounter using a Skyline such as this. Even if I didn't want to do it, it was just inevitable to say that sooner or later I was going to wind up encountering and probably using a Skyline. And that's why I chose this, even though I could have used this for the Japan Championship and probably still would have won it. But I chose it for this one because, well, I wanted to. It's also because, well, I'm kind of getting hungry now, and I just want to get these races out the way. After going through my fair share of being crushed by the AI last time. And now the 200ZX is up at the front. That's probably the car I could have used, but I chose not to. Anyway, 38 points. I probably didn't even need to do the oil change, knowing me. But either way, first race is done. Now let's get through the rest. I might also back out and put road tyres on the car, just to make this more challenging. Especially since that's what I did for the 4-wheel drive challenge. Something to consider. Yeah, before we do our next race, I'm gonna put road tyres on this thing. I really wish the power restrictor existed in this game, but unfortunately they don't exist until GT5, so it's unfortunate, but again, it's kind of one of those things that you just, have to accept. I'm going to go maximum weight because I'm convinced in saying this is probably going to be no real challenge. Oh yeah, I did also get the standard road tyres as well, just to make this look more interesting. So hopefully we will not be dominating as much as we did at Apricot Hill, even though I'm pretty sure we'll no doubt be putting up similar levels of dominance. So this time, we've got the same Honda Civic EG. We also have the Nissan Silvia S13, along with the Toyota MR2, the Honda Prelude, and a Mitsubishi FTO GP version R. And it is a rolling start, and 69 points if we win. Nice. A lot like the points we scored at Apricot Hill when I beat the supercharged Toyota MR2. But I think it's fair to say that if I score more points, then it probably is going to be more interesting. Maybe if it's possible, that will be the case here. Although, to be fair, I did put extra weight in the car, probably maximum ballast, just to make sure I was making this look like more of a challenge. And I think because we're up against quicker cars this time compared to before, it's looking like this might just be more of a challenge, and I'm going to have to pause for a moment because my auto power off notification appeared on my TV. I had to pause for a second there, or else my TV would have switched itself off in 5 minutes. That shows up every once in a while, but it doesn't really show up frequently enough to give me any real dramas. unless I know it's for something relating to that. But anyway, I've cleared both the MR2 and the Prelude, and now all that's ahead of me is the FTO. I did put on the road tyres just to make this look more interesting, and also put the ballast up to maximum of 200 kilos just to see if that will help things out. But I can certainly say this race has been more compelling. It feels like I've actually been challenging myself a bit more compared to before. Also because, well, with the first race, it was basically farcical because of how much I won that race by. Basically the rest of the field never even stood a chance. I basically won that race with total prejudice. And I think it's fair to say, with tuning parts being fitted to the FTO, this race has looked more interesting. Even though it's still technically the all-conquering Skyline that leads. And a little bit loose there, but I think we should be okay because, well, I did, of course, put on the road tyres for a reason. Because again, at the end of the day, I do this for... Oh, yep, okay. I have got to be careful on these road tyres. I think that's the MR2 that's behind us. Well, anyway. Not really needing to... Oh, yeah, okay. That's the, Yep. I knew that was gonna happen. That was definitely a case of the, oversteer kicking in. Yeah, I've definitely made this race more interesting because I chose to put on more weight along with, putting on the road tyres. I think those were probably the only two reasons why this race wound up being a lot more interesting than what it actually was. But if it provides a more compelling, but at the end of the day, if it provides better racing and I still find a way to win under the circumstances, then, well, so be it. Even though this race altogether was pretty much a mess. And once again, I go off onto the grass. So, a very messy race, but still a winning race. And 69 points scored. Nice. With a 2.75 margin of victory over the FTO and 3.3 seconds over the MR2. With the Prelude 4th, the Sylvia 5th, and the Civic finishing P6. Okay, let's move on to race 3. And now it looks like we're back to business as usual. So, a more compelling race at Grand Valley, but I still managed to more or less blitz my opponents in the end, as this time we've got 3 Hondas, 2 Nissans and 1 Mazda. This race is not going to be... oh, never mind, it might just be compelling because we'll get 66 points if we win. I did of course back out and put some road tyres on this thing just to make it look more interesting, but hopefully we now have everything we need. And we'll see if it manages to work out for us. Since we do have the Honda Prelude in this race. So passing the Skyline down the inside, a little bit of contact there with the Civic. Double contact, I might add, but it's okay because we did pass him on the outside with no real dramas. And now it is just me and the Mazda 323F who leads. I probably could have used a Mazda RX-7 for this if I really wanted to. Say for example the RX-7 FC. But, well, I chose not to. And... well, I'm convinced in saying my superior speed and power will probably be what get me to the frontier, and that's precisely what happens. And I went too deep. Too deep for the tyres to actually get me through the turn. Unfortunately. I'm definitely going slideways through some of these corners. But either way, I have got it pulled off. So, yeah. And I'm hearing my stomach rumbling, so that means I'm definitely hungry. And I'm probably gonna call it a day as soon as I'm done here. Because my stomach is telling me to go get some food whilst I am doing this. But you know what? I think we'll be okay from this point on, as I now have a 5-second lead over the Mazda 323F. I do of course do this in the line of entertainment purposes. To make sure that I do at least provide some compelling racing from time to time. And it looks as though this is very much going to be where it'll be 3 out of 3. Still getting slideways through some of these corners, but shouldn't really matter because, well, at this stage, I found a way to cope. And there we go. That's now 3 out of 3 over the Mazda and 4 Hondas. And almost everyone finished. Okay, we are doing good. So here we are now for 3 laps of Special Stage Route 5 Reverse. By this time we've got a Nissan 200SX, a Nissan Silvia, a Toyota Celica SS2, the 2-wheel drive version, the older model of Honda Prelude, and a Mitsubishi Mirage Cyborg. By this time if we win, we will get 68 points. However, I am convinced in saying this will not be too hard to pull off. Because, well, I did win here at Route 5 under much more competitive circumstances when I was driving the Silverado. And yep, my hunger is starting to show itself. But I'm not stopping for food until I am done with this. And then I will think about what to do afterwards. As I now pass one of my fellow Nissans, the Silvia, and now trying to see if I can pass the 200SX. I think if I really wanted to for this, I probably could have used the Silvia, but at the same time, no Silvias were available to be purchased, so that was how I wound up with the Skyline. Because, well, I just decided why not. Getting a little push there from behind. That's the S13 I just got a push from there. The Mirage is 3 seconds up the road. I think it's fair to say we're definitely going to have a more... and that's a wall. I think it's fair to say we're definitely having what feels like a more compelling race here compared to Motegi. And well, that's only because, well, I picked a dominant car, and I figured, well, I might as well do whatever it takes to make sure that I try to keep this competitive. which is basically what my plan is. Or try to stick to the plan. So, half a second is now the gap to the Mitsubishi Mirage. He's been ahead of me for pretty much the entire race up to this point. I am keeping my car in third gear just to make a point. And I want to be absolutely sure that I get my overtake pulled off in the right spot. So, exiting the tunnel and on the front straightaway, I pass the Mitsubishi Mirage on the front stretch straight up. And making sure I give him the racing room. Forces me out just a little bit there, but either way, I did give him enough racing room to get back up the inside. Getting a little bit crossed up there through that chicane, but still able to successfully get myself through to the front. Now we are going through this little bus stop here. Pretty sure this is now 4 races we've done up to this point, if I recall correctly. Because we did Apricot Hill, then we did Grand Valley. Last time we did Motegi, and yeah, this is race 4. I know it is. So through the tunnel for the final time. It looks as though it's going to be another clear-cut win for the Nissan Skyline. I always knew that sooner or later fate was going to force us to cross paths with one another. And in the end, I won by 3.6 seconds over the Sylvia, who overtook the Mirage in the last couple of corners. Nice going. But either way, it at least makes the racing a little bit more interesting. Knowing that I'm actually having to take care of the car as much as I am my own runs. Yeah, I'm gonna save this replay. Because I haven't saved one at Route 5 recently. I think that's right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. But anyway, fate has brought us together, and that's pretty much how we're going to end it. Alrighty then. Final race of the Japanese 90's challenge, and in a fitting but fair fashion, we basically end off our period events, or decade-related events, at Fuji Speedway, basically the same place where we started them, more or less. And 66 points is what we'll get for winning. I have a feeling that if this event has taught me anything, it's knowing that with grid starts, well, the Skyline will always truncate the field immediately. I should not have lifted off the brakes there. And now I have spun. Well, I kind of knew that was going to happen eventually. But whatever, it's fine. I'm still going to win this race either way. So the Toyota MR2 is up front. A little bit wide there on that corner exit, but I think we should be okay. From what I know. It's a 3-lap event. Speed is obviously going to be the name of the game here. And I think it's fair to say that my odds of losing this, I don't think they're going to be good ones on the losing side. On the winning side, however, I think there is going to be some winning involved. As soon as I work my way back up to the front. As I now overtake the Honda Civic, and now passing the Honda Prelude for P3. Just making sure I get through the corner there. And it looks like I will close in on the MR2 up front. Getting on the brakes reasonably early. There's a 5-second gap to the MR2 up front. I think it's obvious to say this might just be the most competitive race we have for this event. Even though, for want of a better phrase, Special Stage Route 5 did turn out to be pretty competitive, but this one, I think, is probably going to take the cake. If that MR2 does manage to keep up with me on the straight. So 3.5 seconds is the gap. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough or not, but I am going to have to get the power down if we're going to beat him, to make sure I do bounce back from that spin I had at the start of the race. I do have enough understanding in the car to know what it is I need to do. 2.5 seconds is now the gap. Of course, a completely unscripted mistake came on my part as I went through the right-hander, and it looks as though I am beginning to close in on the Toyota, as it is 2.1 seconds at the end of the second lap, and now onto the third and final lap we go. So through the right-hander for the last time. I am closing in ever presently on the Toyota, and it looks like I might be able to mount a charge to send this off, if I'm lucky. Get a little bit wide there, but still able to keep up with him. I think it's fair to say the MR2 has definitely been my most competitive challenger in this event. A lot like what I had with the MR2 at Apricot Hill in the 80's festival, where he did actually keep up with me for most of the race, but then, as a result of him spinning out right at the end, I wound up winning by more than what I actually would have done had the spin not happened on the Toyota MR2's part. I'm referring now to the 80's MR2, not this MR2 if you're asking. But anyway, took a last lap pass to get there, and at the chicane of all places, if you can believe it, recovering from my spin, and as a result of me recovering from the spin, I am going to win, and almost set a new best lap time in the process. A 1 second gap to the Toyota MR2 again. How fitting but fair is that? Especially since I quite literally beat a Toyota MR2 by just over a second. But anyway, there we go. Spin and win at Fuji Speedway 90's by 1 second flat over the Toyota MR2. The Honda CRX Del Sol finished third. Nice to see a CRX actually finishing in the top half of the field. Then we had the Civic in fourth, the Celica fifth, and at the back was the Honda Prelude. That was a good race. A hard-fought race, but still a good race nonetheless. I am glad to say my challenger in the end happened to be another Toyota MR2. Anyways, what do we get? We get the Turismo 400R. All in black. Not bad. Not bad. Especially since I technically did drive the 270R earlier on. But anyway, there we go. The Turismo 400R is now ours. And that's now 4 out of 6. I almost said 4 out of 5. 4 out of the 6 Japanese events now done. As next up, we have the Japan Championship. And as to which car I'll be using for that, well, I'll work on something. But anyway, that was the Japanese 90's challenge. And as a result, we have now reached 30% flat in terms of our completion. And we've now passed 13,000 A-spec points. And our win ratio has now moved up to 84.8%. And we're now up to 77 cars and a total of 169 trophies. Nice. And we've driven just over 820 miles. So, I think we made some good progress today. I've definitely made use of my time by picking 4 very unique sports cars in their own rights. And now, here is the car we most recently won, the Turismo 400R. Funnily enough, this is another Skyline R33 from 1996. And if we sell this thing, we'll get 25.5 grand, but we don't need to do that. We've pretty much done everything we need to do. And I think I'll pretty much call it a day. Went through some pretty challenging racing today, but we still made some decent progress nonetheless. And still haven't decided on what car it is I'll be using for the Japan Championship, but inevitably I'll figure something out. So, next time on Gran Turismo 4, Japan Championship.